This is November Oscar 2 Charlie Whiskey. In a previous video, I demonstrated how I use PSK31 with an Elecraft KX2 transceiver and an external sound card for my laptop. I will mention just a few more words regarding the particular configuration and settings that I use. The most important thing is to get your KX2 connected to a computer. The KX2 comes with a computer control cable, and it connects into the ACC side of the Elecraft. On the other side of the setup, it will go into the computer. There is a driver that you need to download and make sure that when you plug in your KX2 into the computer, it truly connects, and the KX2 utility can help you with that. So every time you plug in your KX2 into this particular computer or laptop, it will be assigned a COM or COM port, and most of the time that COM port remains the same unless you have a number of these devices plugged in. So I know that when I plug in my KX2, this laptop will assign it port number 3. Once I do that, I create a profile in Ham Radio Deluxe, and I'm connected to the radio. How do I know that I'm connected? The most important way to find out that you're connected is to make sure that changing the frequency on the radio will also trigger a corresponding change in there. Once you are connected, a lot of the controls, not every single one, but a lot of the controls of the KX2 and configuration of the KX2 becomes available on the screen or on the pages of Ham Radio Deluxe, and you can use one to control the other. You can control your KX2 from Ham Radio Deluxe. What's different about the KX2 is that many radios, such as my ICOM 7100, have a built-in sound card, so this USB connection to the laptop not only carries commands and configuration of the radio, but also carries the audio that's necessary for digital modes. That's not the case with the KX2. So what comes into place in this case is what I mentioned, a external sound card that I plug into the laptop, and two audio cables, 3.5 to 3.5 cables. The two cables that I have came from a kit from Elecraft, but I think they're fairly generic in nature. You can get those just about anywhere. Also, the sound card, you can buy this card under a number of different brand names. They're generic sound cards, and they're sold for $5, $6, maybe up to $10. And inside, I think it boils down to the same hardware. What's specific about them is that they have a separate input for microphone and headphones. Modern laptops don't have that. If you have a desktop computer with a dedicated sound card, you may already have those separate inputs for and outputs for headphones and microphones. Laptops, chances are they won't have that. A desktop, it depends on the particular sound card that's installed in there. So that's why in this case I have this external one. Just a note or two regarding the installation of these external USB sound cards. So once you plug it in, just like any device, it requires a driver. Once it's plugged in, your computer should recognize it, and you should have the ability to tell the computer, instead of using my internal sound card, use the one that was just plugged in and the one that was installed. So what that means is you'll tell your laptop to use the microphone and headphones that are part of this sound card. Where do you make that change in your audio configuration of a computer? You probably in Windows at least. If you find your sound and you right click, you will see playback devices and playback devices. In this case, once I plug in my sound card, and my sound card creates these two, creates speakers called C Media speakers, and a microphone also called C media. So instead of the microphone and speakers that are part of the laptop, I pointed to these two. So that's an important thing to do. Otherwise, because that's a choice for the laptop, and unless you point it this way, it will not know to use this. And number two, you also need to tell Ham Radio Deluxe what to use. Most of the time it's intelligent enough to follow the Windows setting, but just in case, in the main Ham Radio Deluxe window, you will go to Tools, Hardware, Sound Cards, and select Sound Card, if I can do that. And again, as you see, I have pointed it to these two new C media devices. And I will do it one more time, which is in the DM780 window, and pardon my QSO information there. On the sound cards, you will see microphone C and speaker C. Now, regarding a PTT connection, mine is set up to via Ham Radio Deluxe. I don't know if in this case it makes a difference. There's another source that it will tell you sound card PTT or Radio Vox, and I can't say if one or the other truly makes a difference, at least in my situation. In yours it may be, but I can't vouch that this is the right setting for it. So this is as far as the audio cables and the computer setup goes. Now you also need to know that the headphones, when you plug in the audio cables, headphones out of the KX2 will go into the microphone of the sound card, and the microphone of the KX2 will be hooked up to the speaker output of the sound card. Basically, you're crossing those because you're sending audio back and forth into the microphone. And so back to the KX2, probably the second, if not the third, most important piece that you need to set up is you need to set up your once you are in, you need to be in mode data A. The mode is control here, and you need to be in data A. Also, you need to set your filter to about sorry, but you need to set up your filter to about 3 kilohertz wide, and that's to take a snapshot of the 14070, about 3 kilohertz of space where PSK signals are. By default, this filter will be narrower, so you need to widen that to about 3 kilohertz. There are several settings on the in the menus, and I don't know if I can point out what the ones that we need versus the one that we don't need and how to do that. But I will just scroll through my settings, and feel free to look at those. And those are CW settings, not very relevant here. My microphone bias is off, and by default this is on, and you need to be in USB mode in order to change that setting. Same goes for a microphone button. It's up and down by default. You need to be, if you are in data mode, you will not be able to change this setting. You need to get out of data setting, go into USB mode, and change it to off. I don't know if it's absolutely necessary, but at least those are my settings, and I haven't experimented which one of these settings are absolutely necessary and which ones are just desirable or maybe incorrect. PA mode, pitch, these will not truly be this is something that you should probably know by now, the RS-232 speed that you have set there. You won't be able to connect to the radio unless you you know this 4800 or whatever it happens to be speed there. And I believe this is these are all the settings that are relevant in this case. The Vox settings are there by default. and AGC settings don't think have much to do here, and that's pretty much it. We're back to backlight. So those are my settings. I'm not sure which ones are correct, which are not correct. Feel free to copy those or experiment with your own. And those are the settings that I use in order to get the sound card to work. And transmitting in Ham Radio Deluxe automatically triggers transmission on the KX2. So thank you again for checking this out. And this is, like I said, part 2 of the videos where I just go over some of these settings. I hope that they work for you. And if you have any comments, let me know. Like I said, these are created via experiments, and there's a good chance that some of these settings are not the best you could have. I have about, my speakers are set at about 20% on the laptop, and the AF gain here for PSK, I keep it at about 10. And also the microphone gain, I keep, I've tried settings anywhere between 7, 8 to 15, and I haven't noticed a big difference. I have the feeling that the internal circuit of the KX2 clarifies that setting and doesn't literally take what you're feeding it, especially in that data A mode. Maybe in a USB mode, it will just take literally what you're providing. So thank you again for checking this out. I will do a few other experiments, one of them being plugging in the KX2 without the external sound card and simply using the laptop sound card. One of the benefits of using this card is you can route the microphone to the laptop speakers and listen to the PSK sound. There's something unnatural to me if I'm doing PSK and the laptop is completely silent. It just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a radio, and doesn't feel like much is happening. So my preference is to have the PSK noise and sound in the background, and be sure that something is happening there and something is going on. Thank you again, 7-3 from NO2CW.